Imagine waking up to a world where two former allies suddenly become bitter enemies, locked in a struggle that would shape every corner of the globe for nearly half a century. That's the story of the Cold War, a conflict fought not with direct battles between superpowers, but with ideologies, spies, propaganda, and proxy wars. In this video, we're diving deep into what caused the Cold War, why the world split into East and West, and how this invisible war defined the second half of the 20th century. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's take a journey through one of history's most fascinating rivalries. The Cold War didn't begin overnight. Its roots go back to World War II. The United States and the Soviet Union were allies against Nazi Germany, but even as they fought side by side, their visions of the future world were completely different. The US promoted capitalism, free markets, and democracy. The USSR pushed communism, central planning, and one-party rule. These weren't just political systems, they were entire worldviews that clashed at their core. When Germany finally fell in 1945, the shared enemy disappeared. Suddenly, the differences between Washington and Moscow were impossible to ignore. Both wanted influence, both wanted security, and both believed their system was the one true path for humanity. After the war, Europe was in ruins, and the question was, who would rebuild it, and on what terms? The US introduced the Marshall Plan, pumping billions of dollars into Western Europe to rebuild economies and prevent communism from spreading. The Soviet Union saw this as an attempt to buy influence, so they responded by tightening control over Eastern Europe. By the late 1940s, the continent was divided. Western Europe tied to the US. Eastern Europe locked under Soviet influence. Winston Churchill even called it the Iron Curtain. Nowhere was this divide clearer than in Berlin. Although Berlin sat deep inside East Germany, it was split into 4 zones controlled by the Allies. The Soviets tried to force the West out by cutting off supplies in 1948. In response, the US and its allies launched the Berlin Airlift, flying food and fuel into the city for nearly a year. It was a daring move that kept West Berlin alive and became the first major showdown of the Cold War. The message was clear. Neither side was backing down. If the Cold War had one terrifying backdrop, it was the nuclear arms race. In 1945, the US shocked the world by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Just 4 years later, the Soviets tested their own bomb. What followed was a race to build bigger, deadlier weapons, hydrogen bombs, intercontinental missiles, submarines. The idea of mutually assured destruction had emerged. If one side launched, the other could destroy them in return. Ironically, this fear of annihilation may have kept the Cold War from turning into World War III. The Cold War wasn't just about politics or bombs. It was everywhere. The CIA and the KGB fought a silent war in shadows, gathering secrets and undermining each other's governments. Propaganda filled TV screens, movies, and newspapers, each side painting the other as the ultimate villain. And while the US and USSR never fought directly, they clashed through proxy wars. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Local conflicts became global chess matches in which superpowers pulled the strings. It's easy to get lost in the politics, but the Cold War was deeply human. Families divided in Berlin. Students drilled for nuclear attacks in American schools. Soviet citizens lived under strict censorship, while Americans feared communist infiltration. The world lived under constant tension. Would tomorrow bring peace or nuclear war? By the 1980s, the Cold War seemed endless. But cracks began to form. The Soviet economy was stagnating, while the US, under leaders like Ronald Reagan, poured money into defense and technology. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in Moscow and introduced reforms. Glasnost openness and perestroika restructuring. These changes, along with growing public pressure in Eastern Europe, set the stage for something incredible. The Cold War's peaceful end, the symbol of division, the Berlin Wall, came crashing down in 1989. Crowds gathered, hammers in hand, breaking through the concrete that had divided them for decades. Within 2 years, the Soviet Union itself collapsed. The Cold War was over. The world had changed forever. So, what caused the Cold War? It was more than just one event. It was the clash of ideologies, the scars of World War II, the hunger for influence, and the fear of nuclear annihilation. For nearly 50 years, the world lived on the edge of conflict, shaped by a rivalry between two visions of humanity's future. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to explore more stories like this, from hidden moments of history to epic struggles that shaped our world, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. History is full of lessons, and together we'll keep uncovering them.